I'm Cleo, and welcome to my very first ever episode of Opinions Unlimited. It's going to be my talk show, basically, where I do social commentary, just giving my opinions about some things that are going on in this generation with pop culture and things going on socially. Some things you should know about me: I'm 16 years old. I'm going on 17. I'll be 17 later this summer. I'm homeschooled, which obviously means I'm smarter than everybody I know. I'm just kidding. And I basically just wanted to do this talk show just to shed a different perspective on some of the things going on in pop culture right now. Give a bit of a younger perspective, and you guys can just comment, rate, do whatever you want. I'm kind of trying to get my footing with it. See, you guys can leave me comments what things you want me to talk about in particular. I'm going to start off today talking about music, because that's something that's always on my mind. It's not hard for me to talk about music at all, because it's something I'm definitely interested in with our generation. Oh boy, music. The reason I care so much about this generation's music is because, in my opinion, every generation is defined by its music. You look back generations ago and you read the history books, but then you also hear what music was in that generation. If you talk to your parents or your grandparents or any older people, ones that we are, people care so much about their music. People care so much about the music they were listening to on the radio, because the music out in your generation becomes basically the soundtrack to your life. People are going to say, oh, that song was playing when I was, at prom. Or for me, because one of the things I do is dance. I'm really passionate about dancing. I can remember, oh, hey, I had that song years ago when I was learning this. And, music is so important and so vital to everyone's lives. But this generation, if I can be really honest, I know it's my generation, but I hate our music. I hate it entirely. There's so much that I feel that's wrong with our music. I feel like it just needs to be erased and start over. I feel like as time goes on, less and less talent is required to be a singer. I feel like there's more auto-tune, everyone is singing through auto-tune now. And it's the worst, because you don't know if anybody has a good voice or not. In my opinion, which is why it's called a show, it's called Opinions Unlimited, because these are my opinions. In my opinion, this generation loves terrible music. Nowadays, anything with an electronically created beat and someone singing through auto-tune, everybody's listening to it. I turn on my radio now and it drives me crazy. The crap that's on the radio, and some people may disagree with what I'm saying, that's fine, someone's entitled to their opinion, but the crap that's on the radio, it's just awful. Some of the worst tracks released this generation, first of all, everything by Rihanna is just terrible. It's just fact, it's just truth. I don't like her voice. I don't like the songs. The songs don't sound like she can hold a note, and yet people just love it. Justin Bieber, I'm not one of those people who's going to go into he's this, he's that. I don't know him as a person, but I dislike the music. I don't feel like the music is very good quality. Another thing that I think is wrong with this generation when it comes to our music is a musician, a singer, a celebrity can say anything at all, anything outlandish, and we will always give them the excuse, no, that's not what they really meant. Here's a really good example. Lady Gaga's latest hit single. What is it called? Judas. Yeah, literally, the song is called Judas, and she's singing, and you see the music video, and she's clearly saying, I'm in love with Judas, and yet what does everybody say? Oh, it's just a metaphor. It's just a metaphor. Nowadays, singers can say anything in a song, and as long as they come forward and say, it's a metaphor, we give them a shadow of doubt. I don't understand that. They could say anything in the world, the most outlandish things that you would never want to hear somebody say in your local life, like her song about Judas, and yet we're totally okay with it. I don't understand that. People always making excuses for these artists. Why don't you just hear what they're saying and acknowledge that that's what they actually mean? And with Lady Gaga, come on. You're going to tell me that you're not sick of Lady Gaga. There has to be some other people. They're just a little sick of Lady Gaga. I mean, all of her songs are just progressively getting just worse and worse and worse. And the reason I say they're getting worse is because, personally, I feel Judas is her worst track ever. And then before that, Born This Way. Born This Way is an okay song, but it wasn't, like, mind-blowing. The vocal range wasn't mind-blowing. The lyricism wasn't particularly clever. It was just okay, and people trying to say it's like an anthem song. I don't really feel like it was an anthem song. I feel like it was pretty predictable. I feel like it's something that Madonna would have made years ago, and it's just that for this generation. You listen to an old song by Lady Gaga. I think this song is from her first album called Summer Boy. It's a way better song than a lot of what we're hearing from her now. And not to mention, once she's come on the scene, now every single pop star is wearing outlandish costumes and making music videos that make no sense. Has anybody seen that E.T. music video? That new one? The music video is terrible. It just doesn't make any sense from beginning to end. It makes no sense. And again, these things are just my opinions, and I'm allowed to have my opinions in this country. I'm allowed to use free speech. That's what this show is about. But literally, you have to admit, I'm just worried because when we grow up, this is the music we're going to have to tell our kids about. We're going to have to take this stuff to our kids and hear this stuff on now vintage radio stations, and it's just going to be sad that this is what we were listening to. And if we don't start demanding better music, the music is just going to get worse and worse and worse. I'm sick of everyone singing through auto-tune. I'm sick of every song being about partying, clubbing, drinking. It's not positive. It promotes nothing good. The lyrics are unintelligent. We have very few true musical artists left anymore. Nowadays, to me, all music sounds like a formula. All of it sounds like the same thing repeated over and over. I don't know, there's just absolutely nothing in music these days that I really like, at least not the popular stuff. So I've started going back to old music, particularly from the 80s. I don't know how many of you do that, listen to like the old stuff, like Joan Jett and Bon Jovi, stuff that our parents used to listen to. I think we should do that. I think we should go to our parents and ask them what they listened to when they were our age. Listen to some of that stuff, because usually it's way better. We also don't demand enough out of movies. Movies these days are getting worse and worse and worse. And I promise you, they can make a movie about anything. Literally, they can make movies about bugs crawling out the ground. And as long as they say it's in 3D and put a huge actor in it, we'll go watch it. And then people later say, well, this movie was terrible. But the fact that we can't discern, even through previews and clips, it's going to be a terrible film with no storyline, we go see it anyway. I just don't know. Maybe I'm just not getting the gist, but I think that a lot of things in our generation need to be fixed. There's a lot of, I don't know, a lot of bad stuff out there. A lot of terrible music. I've said that already. A lot of terrible films. A lot of terrible actors. Another huge problem in our generation, and these are subjects that I all want to elaborate on later. I'm just trying to get my footing with the show and put out some basic thoughts, overview of our generation basically. Another problem that we have is reality television. Tell me one good thing about reality television. Well, you can't, because there isn't any, at least that's my opinion. When I was younger, I think the first ever reality show, I'm probably wrong about this, but the first one I can remember, was probably Big Brother. That wasn't so bad, it was intelligent, it was kind of interesting to watch people interact with each other, watch the way people try to figure each other out. But nowadays it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. There are too many reality shows on television. Does anybody remember back a few years ago, in like 2004 when The Hills was on, how big that was and like all the popular girls watched that show? Yeah, like everybody watched that show, and I never had cable in my house, so I didn't see it. I eventually saw reruns a few years later. But the show was just, come on, really? The show wasn't really that great of a show. It was just these girls wandering around in this beautiful city with drama. There was never really that bad. And now we have all these other reality shows on where you literally watch people fight, party, scream at each other, create pointless drama. I just don't understand how that makes people any healthier. And usually, when I ask somebody that I know my age, why do you watch that show? The first answer they usually give me is, well, everybody watches that show. Do they really? Does everybody really watch that show? And is that really a good reason to do something? You know, if everybody does something, is that really a reason to do it? I don't like reality TV. I think it's just bad for this generation. Another reason I don't like reality television, besides it being voyeuristic and completely pointless, is that it glamorizes people who don't really have a talent. It glamorizes people who haven't really studied a craft, haven't studied an art, haven't studied pretty much anything, and yet they're on TV before for us, and we make them into superstars, and we idolize them, and we want to look like them. Also, everybody, or a majority of the people I know a lot of girls are going to get upset about this one, obsessed with the Kardashians. Obsessed. How many people do you know, I'm talking to teenagers with this, how many people do you know dressed up as the Kardashians for a party or for Halloween or for something? They're obsessed with the Kardashians. But ask yourself, really, what have the Kardashians done to be famous? You know, I'm not saying these things to be cruel, I'm saying these things to be honest. Because I think our generation deserves better. It just deserves better art, deserves better films, it deserves better music, it deserves better everything. Because what you don't want is to look around, look back and look at other sources like I've done and realize, wow, we're being fed so much crap. Because for me, I really like Broadway stuff, I like alternative music, I like indie films, I like stuff that's a little outside of the norm. And when you start looking at that stuff, you start realizing how bad what you're hearing every day is. But it's sort of like, you don't really recognize it unless you step outside of it, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody gives you milk that's just a little bit spoiled every day since you're a kid, you're going to think that's normal, and then one day when you taste fresh milk, you're going to realize, oh, this is better. But it's going to be weird, you're going to have to get used to it. That's how it is with our generation's music and movies and TV and everything. It's bad, and then when you step outside of it, you're like, wow, I didn't know this existed. Oh, again, I'm just trying to give some of my opinions. Hopefully some people will find some things here in what I'm saying that you agree with. At least I hope that's the case. Just trying to get my footing here. Again, I'm totally open to suggestions, people telling me different things they want me to talk about. And there's so much in this generation that can be covered. We need to have a good long conversation about Facebook. There's a lot on Facebook that can be talked about. The good and the bad. There's lots of good and bad to that particular website. Lots of good and bad when it comes to music, lots of good and bad when it comes to high school period, lots of good and bad for all generations. So I'm going to pretty much wrap it up for now, but I thank you for watching, and I look forward to many more episodes, and it's going to be really awesome to do this show, and yeah, I just can't wait to see what the show's going to hold in the future. Thanks so much. Bye.